The Kindly One by Danielle Ackley-McPhail. Guilt, the venom running through humanity's veins. The cancer eating mankind's soul. Death, both courted and earned, well fed upon denial. Dust rose in a rooster's plume on the horizon long before there was anything to see on the road. Something big was coming in. Something bigger than the usual transport bus. Callie Dupree watched as Warden Schmidt strolled across the compound with purpose, his expression twisted into 20 kinds of pissed off. Guards trailed out the building until 3 times the normal detail paced the wall, clustered in towers, and stood positioned around the compound. Each one ran hands unconsciously along the stocks of the rifles, or the lengths of their nightsticks. The warden's gaze slid from the crowded yard to his men. He tensed further when his eyes locked on the approaching dust cloud. He swore as he headed for the main gate. A bit more goddamn warning would have been decent. Near forgotten in the yard, the inmates wandered toward the fence that ran along the dead zone between their enclosure and the road that crossed the prison perimeter. They milled in a loose throng, their attention riveted on the goings-on. They gathered as close as they could to the barrier without touching the charged links. For once, none of them paid attention to turf or boundaries. Everyone was too caught up in the tension, hanging in the air thicker than the desert heat. The warden lifted a walkie to his lips, and handsets squawked all over the compound. Callie edged closer to a nearby guard, trying to hear what was going on. An acrid tang wafted from the young kid in his all-too-new uniform. His dull, dirt-brown hair hung in damp hanks over his forehead, and his eyes were black and shocky. He jerked as the warden's voice came hard and flat over the handset. "Weapons at the ready. The feds are bringing her in." Callie's cheek ticked. She carefully worked herself away, watching as the guard cocked his rifle, his hands trembling. She recognized the look on his face. After 15 years on the inside, she'd seen it plenty enough. This one was likely to do something stupid. She was not going to be anywhere within range when that happened. Instead, she worked her way across the yard to Joelle's side. "Someone new's being brought in. Got half of 'em wired enough to piss themselves," Callie murmured, her face neutral and her eyes half-closed in cultivated boredom. She pushed a length of steel-gray hair behind her ear, revealing ghostly track scars up and down her arm, before tucking her thumbs into the waistband of her prison-issue jeans. "Yeah, and the other half enough to open full bore." Joelle spit in disgust. "They couldn't do this a week from fucking now, could they? They're going to be agitated for months, breathing down our necks every damn second. I hate the bitch already." The warning klaxon sounded, cutting off further comment. The 2 women turned with the others, eyes trained on the approaching vehicles. The caravan consisted of a dark, official-looking sedan, followed by a semi, which was then followed by another sedan. This was not the usual prisoner transfer. Murmurs of speculation buzzed the air like locusts. They cut off a mere moment later. The semi sped up recklessly, weaving the width of the road, the trailer swaying dangerously behind. There was a screech of metal on metal, and the squeal of tires skewing sideways on the asphalt as the truck zoomed past the lead sedan, clipping it in passing. There were gasps and yells as the government car peeled off into the sagebrush. Smoke pouring from the front end, airbag powder clouding the inside. Half the guards boiled out of the guardhouses and towers like ants out of a collapsing mound. The rest maintained their posts. All of them had their weapons raised and trained on the semi barreling through the gate. 20 feet of electrified fence wrapped around the cab, arcing and sparking like 4th of July fireworks. The guard in the truck's path scrambled behind the Jersey wall that ran along the asphalt, parallel to the security fence. Brakes squeaked until the tires smoked thick, black, acrid smoke. At the same time, the engine revved. Callie was close enough to see the expression on the driver's face. He was paler than chalk, and his eyes burned just this side of madness. For a second, she figured he was not going to halt the rig at the inner security gate either. It was almost a disappointment when the truck came to a whiplash stop a few feet before another collision. The second sedan fishtailed to a halt behind it, blocking the breech gate as well as it was able to. Feds poured out of the far side and positioned themselves with the guns braced on their car as they used it for cover.